even though you were able to get money off the exchange, you still had tens of millions on the exchange when it comes to FTX. Trapped there, Sam Bankman-Fried has been pretty vocal in the media the last couple of days, let alone since the crash had really started to happen. The question I have for you is, what do you still need to know? What hasn't been said that needs to be made clear?
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that his lawyers are letting him speak. Having watched his two interviews, the word delusional kept coming into mind, right? That he's in a reality that's not real. A lot of narcissism, a lot of grandiosity. But the reality is, like, Sam and his cohorts perpetuated a fraud. They used customer money to make bets that he poorly risk managed after he made them. Let's forget about the risk management. The problem was he took our money. And so he needs to get prosecuted. The authorities need to dig in and figure out exactly what happened. People will go to jail and should go to jail, I think.
Mike, on fraud and on the idea of him going to jail, the reality is that authorities have not convicted him, have not charged him of anything.
I agree. You're innocent until proven guilty in this country. I'm just, from what I'm seeing.
What evidence do you have that others might not be seeing? Do you have evidence that others may not be seeing that this was indeed?
Sonali, there's $9 billion that seem to have been moved out of the exchange into his personal accounts. Like, you don't need a whole lot more evidence than that. But I'm not a prosecutor, and he will be investigated. He will be prosecuted, and if the facts turn out the way I expect them to, he will spend time in jail. Is Sam a horrible guy? He's been kind. He's got a kind demeanor. I think he was delusional and detached from a reality, and him and his team did things that no bank should do, no exchange should do, and no person should do.
It raises a lot of questions, though, too, not only about what he did or what he may have done there, Mike, but also, I guess, about the due diligence process of a lot of the folks who either invested with him or at least did business with him in one way or another. What is it about what we know now that didn't necessarily seem evident maybe a year ago when a lot of folks are cozying up to him?
Well, if you think about it, like, he had the perfect pedigree for this, right? He went to MIT. His parents were both lauded Stanford professors. He worked at Jane Street, which is one of the best, arbitrage high-frequency shops in the world. And so with those credentials, and then starting to make money as an arbitrageur, people bought in. And as one big VC credentializes them, and then the next, people do less work. I think, in a lot of ways, his Bermuda shorts and floppy hair, and I'm going to give all my money away, worked as a distraction to people really understanding. But fraud's hard to detect.
It is hard to detect. And I appreciate the idea you talking about just his pedigree and how smart he is. I mean, you went to an Ivy League school. A lot of the folks who invested with him probably are on the same level to a certain extent intellectually with him. I mean, why would he get the best of someone like you?
Well, listen, again, when we looked at it, right, we were not an investor. We were a participant on his exchange. We did normal due diligence. They showed us, contracts. Their contract was our coins are our coins, and we have title to them, and they're not supposed to be able to use them to fund his family office. And listen, you wish there was more transparency. Now we're moving with most exchanges to proof of reserves. Binance is leading that charge, but almost all the exchanges offshore and onshore will soon go to proof of reserves. So you actually can use on-chain analytics to prove that centralized companies actually have the money they say they did. I don't think humans are coded to think people will lie to their face like sociopaths, and it's why we have these things show up, from Elizabeth Holmes to Sam Bankman-Fried to Bernie Madoff to the guy at Archipelagos.
Mike,
and so.
I heard what you said about delusional, but being delusional is not a crime. I think, as you said, a lot of VC funds trusted him, and that trust is easily extended within a network situation. The reality is you had millions of dollars tied up in FTX, and you are changing your due diligence. Can you specify exactly how you're doing that going forward? Are you going back and looking at everyone that you do business now with, all your counterparts, and looking for new things, new red flags?
So, listen, certainly, if this was crypto or if this was a non-crypto, you do the same thing. We've taken our exchange balances down as a precaution. We've gone through each exchange, talked to the guys that run them, look at the auditing, look at proof of reserves, and we make our best bet, right? When you were putting money on an exchange, you never expected it to be all at risk, right? Exchanges put a lot of your coins in cold storage, and then the rest was left on exchange. So you really thought you only had risk of hacking. Very few people thought risk of somebody stealing your money. And that's a new risk that people are going to have to look at a lot closer.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mike, the reality, too, is whether it's crypto winter or the prolonged problems we're seeing in isolated incidences in the crypto industry, Galaxy has felt some pain here to the tune of letting go of 15% of staff. Do you think you're going to have to go deeper than that? And are there other changes you think you'll have to make at Galaxy to really pivot yourself to the next phase of this crypto environment?
Listen, I would say stay tuned. We are going to lean into the opportunity set that we see. There are a lot of cheap assets right now. There'll be a lot of distressed assets. We're going to build for where we think the puck will be in 2 years. I can't guarantee that the same amount of people we have in Business X will be in Business X in 3 months' time. I think we'll shift a lot of assets around the board. But I would bet you that in 3 months' time, we have more employees then than we do now, mostly because we're looking at some small acquisitions.
You made this comment.
This is a setback for crypto, but there's an inevitability that digital assets are going to be part of our future, and we're going to make that bet.
You'd mentioned to me before that you think that the big players here, the big institutional players, the Goldmans, the Fidelities, could be real beneficiaries of what we're seeing here among the traditional crypto companies. Why Goldman in particular?
Listen, I threw Goldman out there because I worked there, and they're 400 feet away down here. What I meant by that is, in times of nervousness, institutional players feel more comfortable dealing with a name they've dealt with for 20 years, right? We're full with institutional people at Galaxy, and we are trying to build that brand within crypto of the trusted counterparty. But we're a lot smaller than the big guys. And so just in nervous times, you're not going to get fired for buying your Bitcoin at Fidelity. And now, who is this Sam Bankman-Fried character after all, right? And so it's just a natural inclination of people to go to the places they perceive as safe. Will it last forever? Absolutely not. Do I think we have a role to play? 100%. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here day after day from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m.
How about the role of regulators, Mike? Have regulators or potential regulators like the SEC, the CFTC, the DOJ reached out to major clients of FTX, such as Galaxy, to ask for more information on what happened at the exchange? Are you talking with them?
Nope. Yeah, we can't talk specific about our relationship with the regulators, but I would say broadly, yes. I think, look, regulators they have some egg on their face in that Sam was very far along at pitching to be the cash Bitcoin market here in the U.S., both with SEC and CFTC, and so he was, deep in conversation, and so they're trying to figure out how in the heck did that happen. Mm-hmm. Naturally, they're reaching out to industry players to understand the links. And so I do think people will wonder, why is the guy not in handcuffs if he did something wrong? White-collar crime takes a long time to prosecute. And you're going to see this happen more slowly than most people want, both the regulatory response and the prosecutorial.
Given that slow process, given the lack of trust in the industry that has existed after some of these big bankruptcies and blow-ups, what about your price target here? This idea here that you believe digital assets will win out in the future, but you said Bitcoin could hit 500,000 in 5 years. 1 year is gone, and it's at 16,000. It'll take a lot to get there. So do you still believe that that's possible?
Not in 5 years, and I'll tell you why. The biggest change that happened, and the reason Bitcoin went from 69,000 down to the 20,000s, is Jay Powell decided to find his central banking, superpowers and start bashing inflation over the head with a series of rate hikes that have taken rates from 0 to 4+%. Like, it's pretty much that simple. It's why all frothy assets, growth assets that were quote inflation hedges went down, because we are in the process of beating inflation over the head.
Yeah.
I don't think long-term it's sustainable, given the political climate, that our governments are going to spend what they have. They're going to spend more than they have, like they always do. And in that case, you're going to see this inflation and the debasement of currency harder and harder to control. But right now, the Fed's in control, and they're doing a darn good job. And that's the main reason why crypto went down. Listen, the rest of this malarkey that we've had with between Three Arrows and BlockFi and Celsius and all these companies that were either poorly run or fraudulently run certainly is hurting the overall confidence in crypto.
Right.
But this too shall pass. They will be brushed off into the dustbin of history. And the industry itself is going to emerge having learned lessons stronger, and you're going to see the price take back off.